Guys, in today's session, we are discussing flow designers. Guys, in the flow designers, we have actually discussed about flow designer, actions. In today's session, we are going to discuss about some flows, guys. Okay, guys, the subflows is actually set of actions. Subflows is actually set of actions. Actions is actually set of steps. It is actually set of steps, guys. So actions are actually set of steps. We created action in our previous session. Okay, if you go to the flow designer, if you go to the flow designer, okay, go to the actions here. So these are the actions that we created, guys. So in the actions, what we have done, we have actually taken the inputs. This is a script step, guys. These are actually called steps. So we can actually add multiple steps in the actions, guys. We can add multiple steps in the action. So in the steps, you have actually a different type of steps here in the action. You have ask for approval step, you have create record, create task, delete multiple records. We have actually these many type of steps are available. Okay. So in the steps, you will actually do the actions. If you want to send outputs, you can actually send outputs. Action is actually a set of steps which has inputs and outputs. Set of steps which will take inputs and outputs. Okay, subflows. Subflows is set of actions. Set of actions, guys. This is actually set of steps. Subflows is actually set of actions which take inputs and outputs. Okay, which take inputs and outputs. Guys, here you have to understand this one in detail. Set of actions. Set of actions. Now, I am going to create one subflow in the. I am going to create one subflow here, guys. So here, go to the workflow studio, go to the subflows. I am going to create a new subflow here. I am going to create a new subflow here. Okay. Delete group member. Delete group member. Okay. Or remove group member. So here you can see you have inputs and you have outputs here. Okay. I am going to create two inputs here. One is group, which is actually of type of reference type. So which is referencing group table. Okay. So user whom you want to remove. Okay. So from this particular group, you have to remove this user. Okay. So output. Okay. is member removed. True or false. I'm selecting true or false. So here in the subflow, we have taken two inputs, one output, guys. We have taken two inputs, one output. Okay. Then you have actually actions here. You have actually actions here. I'm going to first check. I'm going to take lookup record action here. Lookup record is an out of the box action. In place of glide record, use this to, okay, lookup records. The table will be group member table. Sys underscore user underscore gr member. Group is actually this group, and user is actually the selected user. So with this, if a record found, see in place of lookup records, we are querying only one record, right? We are querying only one record, right? We will use lookup record instead of lookup records. We will use lookup record. Okay. So here I am using flow logic here, if flow logic here. If, okay, if user is member of group, user is member of the group. Okay, if user is actually member of the group, what I should do? I have to remove the member from the group. To remove the member from the group, we have to use delete record action. So delete record. Which record? This group member record I have to delete. Okay. If else, so here in the else part, I am writing a log here. I am writing a log here. Okay. User is not member of group. User is not member of group. Okay. So here, guys, if member is if user is actually member of the group, we are actually removing that member from the group, guys. After removing the member from the group, I am using flow logic. I am actually assigning the output. Assign subflow outputs. So here I'm just looking on plus here. The output here is member removed set to true. Okay. So here I am just keeping same subflow outputs is number removed. I'm keeping false. I'm keeping as it is false. So what did I do here? First of all, I have taken two inputs and one output guys. What are those two inputs? Root and user actually two inputs. And is member removed is actually an output. Okay. So here, if user is a member of the group, what we are doing, we are removing that member from the group. Then we are telling that yes, member is removed. Else, if he is not the member of the group, we are actually showing user is not member of the group, and we are actually keeping that is member removed as false. So just save this one. Okay, this is a subflow, guys. Subflow is actually having inputs and outputs, but it is actually set of actions. We are using actions here. So what did I mention here? Subflow is set of actions which take inputs and give outputs. Okay. So now I'm just publishing this one. So before publishing, if you want, you can also test it, guys. After testing, you can publish it. So I'm just clicking on test here. Before testing it, so what I'm doing is I'm going to groups, guys. Under user administration, I'm going to groups here. So let me just take application development. So in the application development group, okay. So Masood is actually a member of this group. Okay, I want to remove Masood from this particular group, guys, from the flow design. Okay, so I'm just clicking on test here. Group application development. Okay, the user is actually Masood. So I want to remove this member from this particular group, guys. So this member is already part of the group, right? Okay, now we will see if that member is removed from the group or not. You can see that member is removed from the group. I am going to remove this member from the group. I'm going to remove this member from the group. Okay, we can't run test. Okay, now you go to the group and this member will be removed from the group now. Okay, so let us say I am giving one name system administrator. System administrator is not part of the group, right? System administrator is not part of the group. So when I run this one, so it should print a log here. So no record found in the lookup record action. It is throwing an error. So ideally it should not throw any error. It should not throw any error. We have to modify this. This one. Can publish this. Okay. So now we'll do a quick test here. Application development. System administrator. So evaluated to false. If it is false, it will go to else part. In the else part, so user is not the member of the group. So it is showing user is not the member of the group. So and here you will get the outputs here. So you will get the output as his member removed is actually false. His member removed is actually false. So we have created a subflow. In this subflow, we have created a subflow. In this subflow, where we can actually provide the group name and username. If this user is member of this group, and that member will be removed from the group. If this user is not the member of the group, it will say error message, a log called user is not the member of the group. Okay, it will show a log, user is not the member of the group. Okay, it will show output as is member removed as false. Is member removed as false. Okay, now we created a flow designer, we tested successfully. I am going to call this flow designer in the, I am going to call this subflow in the flow designer. So I am going to the flows here. I am opening this flow designer. So in this flow designer, okay, in the actions, remove, so not in the actions, in the subflow. In the subflow, you can use remove group member. So this is the subflow that we created, guys. Where you have to provide the group name, you have to provide the group name, you have to provide the username. Okay. Okay, let me give you one example. Whenever user become inactive, let me go to user administration. Okay. Whenever user become inactive, if that user is member of how many groups, so we have to remove that users from all the groups. So for that, what I am creating is I am creating a flow designer. I am creating a flow designer. Okay. Okay. So here updated, we have to select updated user table. So user run for each new content. Condition active, active is false. Okay. So then what I am doing is I am actually first checking if this user is actually part of how many groups. Okay. So then I am using lookup records action. Okay. So I am going to use a for each here. For each means to loop through each group. Okay. So here I'm calling flow logic here. Subflow guys. Subflow remove group number. So group I am selecting. This group will be group members group guys. So this group member group. Okay. So user will be this user record. Okay. So here, right, you have wait for completion. If you use wait for completion, it will run synchronously. If you uncheck this one, it will run asynchronously. Okay. Just to save this one. Okay. So I am going to save this one, activate this. Let me open one user account. Let us take Rahim. Rahim, let me add Rahim into 5 groups. I am adding Rahim to 5 groups. So the number of 6 groups. Okay. So once I make Rahim user account as inactive, the flow designer will run. The flow designer should remove these number from these 5 groups, guys. See, he is removed from the 5 groups. Let me activate this one. Okay. Okay, now he is actually Rahim is actually part of 6 groups. Once the user become inactive, okay, this flow designer will run, guys. This flow designer will run. So you can see once user is inactivated, activated false, it will actually check the user is a member of how many groups. So we are actually using remove group member subflow here. We are adding subflow here, guys. Whatever the subflow that we created here, we are adding that subflow here. Okay, I am going to deactivate that user now. Okay, now this user will be removed from all the groups, guys. User should be removed from all the groups. For every admin. You can see the members are actually removed from the member is removed from these groups. So here in the flow designer, what did we do? We created a subflow. We called that subflow in the flow designer. Did you get it, guys? Guys, remember subflow. You see, flow designer will have triggers. Okay, flow designer will have trigger, and it will have actions, flow logics, subflows. Okay. So flow designer will have trigger and it will have actions, flow logic, and subflows. Actions is set of action which will take inputs and outputs. Subflow is actually set of actions which will take inputs and outputs. Okay. So here we have created a custom action. This is actually a custom action. So where you can actually enter 2 values, you can actually add those 2 numbers. Let us say I'm passing 80, 20, 80 plus 20. So it is actually the output you will get it as 100 here. Okay, now it will require 100. So this is the custom action that we created. This is the custom subflow that we created, guys. You can call this action and subflow in the flow designer. So let us imagine I want to add two numbers action. The action that we created, add two numbers. This is the custom action that we created, guys. This is the custom action that we created. Okay. Okay. That is fine. So in the flow designer, guys, in the flow designer, if you want to pass a value from one activity to another activity, okay, if you want to pass a value from one activity to another activity, so what you can do, you can use this data pills, guys. Okay, you can use data pills. So there is a concept called flow variables, guys. There is a concept called flow variables here. So like in the workflow, you have, like in the workflow, you have workflow dot scratchpad dot workflow dot scratchpad dot my name equal to Uday Gadiparthi. I have mentioned. Okay, Uday Gadiparthi I mentioned. So this is used to pass a value from one activity to another. This is used to pass a value from one activity to another activity. Okay. So this workflow dot scratchpad dot variable name is used to pass value from one activity to another activity. Similar to this one, in the flow designer, we have actually flow variables, guys. If you click on this one, you can create a flow variables. Okay. I am creating a new flow variable here. Okay. My name string. Okay. I have actually created a flow variable. I am going to create another flow variable. My age. I created two flow variables, guys. So I am assigning those flow variables here. Although I am assigning those flow variables here using flow logic. Assign get set flow variables. You have to use in the flow logic. You have to use set flow variables. So here we have two flow variables, right? One is actually my name. My name is actually Uday Gadiparthi. So another one is actually my age. My age I am actually assigning this as 55. So here I can access these flow variables throughout the flow designer, guys. You can see my name and my age. These are actually called flow variables. These flow variables you can access throughout the flow designer. You can access this my name and my age flow variables throughout the flow designer, guys. Okay. Hope you guys are clear, everyone. Hmm? Okay. Now we will understand. See, first today we understand that flow designer will have trigger. It can work as business rule when you select a, record-based trigger. It will act as business rule when you select a record-based trigger. And here, when you select record-based trigger, and if you choose run trigger as once, it will again work as workflow. That is what we discussed here. Then, if you select daily, weekly, monthly, it will work as scheduled jobs. It will work as scheduled jobs. If you select a SLA task, inbound email, it will work. If you select a SLA task, it will work for SLA definitions. If you select a inbound email, it will work as inbound email action. Okay. So if you select a service catalog, it will act as workflow for catalog item. If you select a service catalog here, it will act as workflow for catalog items. Okay. Now we will understand how the flow designer will has workflow for catalog item. Okay. Now we will understand how the flow designer will act as workflow for catalog items. Okay. I'm going to create a flow designer here, guys. Okay, fine. So here I'm actually selecting service catalog, guys. Service catalog. So here you have to use an action called get catalog variables. Get catalog variables. So here you have to drag the requested item table here. Requested item. You have to select the catalog item name. iPhone 16 Pro Max. Okay. So guys, here first of all, when the catalog item is submitted, I have to send an approval to the manager, right? Before that, I have to check if the requester has manager app. Okay, requester has manager. So usually in the workflow, we will use if activity, but here in the flow designer, we will use flow logic if flow logic. Okay. So here I'm using data pin, get catalog variables requested for manager. Okay, requested for manager is not empty. If it is not empty, then it will go to if within the if condition. Else I am writing else part here. Okay. Well, here I have to send an approval to the ask for approval. Ask for approval. I have to send an approval to the manager. Requested item. Okay. I'm choosing anyone approves. Uh, Requested for manager. I have to select here. Requested for manager. Okay. So I'm sending an approval to the requested for manager. So if he approves, okay, you do ask for approval here. The approval state is approved. Okay. So this is if, right? We have to again provide else part here. Okay. So iPhone 16 Pro Max. So I told you, right, we can also show the catalog variables on the catalog task as well. So this checkbox is checked means it will wait for the catalog task to be completed. So I am writing else part here. If manager rejected it. Okay, if manager rejected it. Okay. Mhm. Once manager is rejected, it will actually create the catalog task. Once task is created, we will actually use update record action to close the requested item. We'll keep the requested item as closed complete. State as closed complete. Okay, once it is closed, if you want to send an email, you can use send email or send a notification. Send email means you have to compose the email from the beginning. You have to keep two member, CC member, BCC member. Okay. So requested for. Okay. So it will send an email, guys. And then what we are doing, we have to end the flow. There is a end mark here, guys. You have to use end flow here. So if manager rejected it, if manager rejected it, again I am using an action called update record action. So in the update record, so I have to use requested item. State as closed incomplete. End the flow. Here I have to update the record. Okay. So activate this one. After activating this one, what you can do is you can actually go to the catalog item, iPhone 16. Okay. Go to the maintain items. So in this catalog item, in place of workflow, I'm actually adding iPhone 16 Pro Max catalog item. Sorry, I have assigned flow designer to this catalog item. I have tagged the flow designer to this catalog. So we will click on try it here. Okay, I am just submitting the will use. Okay, now the flow designer will be triggered, guys. In place of workflow, flow designer will be triggered. Okay, if you scroll down here on the requested item, so earlier you were able to see show workflow. Now you are able to see flow context. Earlier we were able to see show workflow. Now we are able to see flow context. It has triggered an approval to the manager. Okay, we will see where exactly the workflow is waiting here. Okay, from context record. So it is not actually showing the context, guys. So it has sent an approval to the manager. Once manager approved it, we will create a task. Okay, once manager approved it, it will create a task, guys. So once the task is closed, the request item will be closed complete. The request item is closed complete. So in place of workflow, what did we do? We created a flow designer, guys. In place of workflow, we did use flow designer. So we have choose trigger as service catalog. We have used get catalog variables action. That action we provided the catalog item name. Using that catalog item name, we are able to get the catalog variables here. Normally in the workflow, you will get these catalog variables using current dot variables dot variable name. But in the flow designer, we are getting these data pools here. Then I am checking if the requester has manager or not. If manager, I am actually sending an approval to the manager. Once he approved it, we are creating the task. Once the task is closed, we are actually marking the request item as closed complete. We are sending an email. We are ending the workflow. So here, guys, we forgot to mention end flow here. We forgot to mention here end flow. Okay, save this one. Activate this one. Okay, so this ending is very important, guys. The flow must end. Okay, so in place of workflow, we used flow designer, guys, by setting trigger as service catalog here. Okay, this is how you can actually make the flow designer work as workflow, guys. Okay, so that is how the flow designers will work in the service now, guys. Okay, so this trigger is only available in the flow design. This trigger is not available in the action. This trigger is not available in the subflows. In the actions, you have inputs and outputs. Action is set of steps. But when it comes to the subflow will have inputs and outputs. It will not have trigger, and it is actually Sorry guys, there was a network issue. Okay. Fine. Let me just open the actions. So this is the action that we created. So this is the flow designer that we created. This is the action that we created. Let me open the subflow as well. So this is the subflow that I created. Okay. This flow designer I created. This action I created. This subflow I created. Guys, if you want to trigger the flow designer using scripting, so using script also you can trigger the flow designer, guys. You can just click on these three dots. Okay, you can just click on these three dots. Here you have create code snippets. Create code snippet. So you can trigger the flow designer using script from the client side. So what I want to do is I want to copy the script here, guys. Okay. So you can trigger the flow designer using script in the client side using this line of script. Okay. So here you can see you are taking the inputs. Okay, input the table name you will provide. Input dot requested item. This is an actual object. So here you have to use glide flow. Glide flow dot start flow, the flow designer name dot inputs. Whatever the inputs that you are taking, those inputs you are passing. So you have to use this line glide flow dot start flow, the flow designer name and the inputs. This is how you will trigger the flow designer using script in the client side. Okay. What if you want to trigger the flow designer using script in the server side? Okay. What if you want to trigger the flow designer, okay, in the server side? Okay. So using this, guys, remember sn underscore fd dot flow API dot get runner dot flow dot flow designer name in foreground. In foreground means synchronously, execute synchronously. Okay. With inputs dot run. So guys, if you want to run the flow designer asynchronously, you have to use this line of script, guys. Okay, start asynchronously. This flow, if you want to run the flow designer in the server side asynchronously, you have to use this line of script. Okay. So similarly, if you want to trigger the actions using scripting, go to the action here, click on these three dots, click on create code snippet. If you want to trigger the action in the client side, okay, if you want to trigger the action in the client side, okay, if you want to trigger the action in the server side, you can use this line of. If you take a look at here, sn underscore fd dot flow API dot get runner dot action here. But if you scroll up here, here it is actually flow, but here it is action. Okay, if you want to trigger the uh, action using script in the client side, you will use glide flow dot start action and the action name and inputs. Okay. If you want to trigger the action in the server side using scripting, you have to use sn underscore fd dot flow API dot getter dot action dot the action name in foreground. In foreground means synchronous with inputs dot run. So this is how you will actually trigger the flow designer. This is how you will trigger the actions in the server side using script guides. Okay, we will use subflows. So we go to the subflow here that we created. If you want to trigger the subflow using scripting in the client side, You have to go to code snippet here. Okay. Fine, sir. Okay. You can use glide flow dot start subflow and the subflow name and the inputs. Okay. If you want to trigger the subflow in the server side, okay, you have to use this line of script to trigger the subflow in the server side. Okay, you can see here SN underscore FD dot flow API dot get runner dot subflow dot subflow name dot in foreground dot with inputs dot input dot run. This is how you trigger the flow designer. This is how you will trigger the subflow in the server side using script guides. Okay. So if you want to cancel the flow designer, you can actually cancel the flow design. So here you go to the documentation here, guys. Go to reference here. Go to server global. Okay. SN underscore FD. Okay, you can see the documentation here, guys. Okay. So if you want to cancel the flow designer, you can also cancel the flow designer, guys. Okay. Cancel a paused or running flow, subflow, or action. Okay. So you can use this line of script, SN underscore FD dot flow API dot cancel the context ID flow to cool on to execute. Okay. Um, execute action. If you want to execute the action, you can use the flow API dot execute action with inputs. Okay. So guys, whatever we have seen, we can actually execute action quicker. Run an action from server side script synchronously from a current user session without creating sufficient details or other related records. Improve performance by eliminating keep without keeping overhead. So we have so many actions, guys. We can use all of these action. We can actually use all of these methods in the flow designer to do some operations using script guides. Okay. So this is how the flow designer will work in the service knowledge. Okay.